curriculum that the Obama administration is putting in all the public schools. Well, I say putting it in all. Right now, it's strictly voluntary. There's been quite a few systems that's taken a look at it and kicked it out and said, "Oh no, we're not going to teach that."
I think Alabama was one of those.
Yeah, but pretty soon it's not. They're not going to have a choice. Pretty soon it's going to be, compulsory. But I got some audio from one of the Common Core curriculum administrators trying to explain to a group of very confused parents why little Johnny's not necessarily getting it wrong when he says 3 times 4 is 11. And you got to hear this to believe it. You can't make this stuff up.
But even under the new Common Core, even if they said 3 times 4 was 11, if they were able to explain their reasoning and explain how they came up with their answer really in words and in oral explanations, and they showed it in the picture, but they just got the final number wrong, we're really more focusing on the how and the
way. Going to be correcting them.
Oh, absolutely, right? Absolutely. We want our students to compute correctly, but the emphasis is really moving more towards the explanation and the how and the why, and can I really talk through the procedures that I went through to get this answer, and not just knowing that it's 12, but why is it 12? How do I know that?
But you don't necessarily mark it wrong either, as long as that they tried, as long as they can show you in their own convoluted logic how they got to 3 times 4 is 11. Well, you can't really mark that wrong, because we really want to focus on the how they got there. We want to emphasize, using their imagination.
Look, you can't have like benchmarks for kids to reach and everything.
That's racist.
Exactly.
That's racist. Those things are rigged. Standards are rigged.
Extremist for trying to question these kind of things. Man, you make me sick.
I'm sorry. And what's funny is the teachers' unions, they love the Common Core curriculum. They absolutely love it, because it takes so much work away from them that they just don't have. I mean, they don't have to worry about whether or not these kids get it wrong. Heck, if the kid can justify their answers, why bother grading it? You don't think for a minute that when I was in the 6th grade, I couldn't have come up with some kind of reason why I said 3 times 4 was 11. I could have talked my way into that, it being right.
Yeah, but see, like it's being pointed out in the chat, I don't think the IRS is going to be happy when it comes down to tax time, and they think you owe them $19,000, and you think you only owe them $17,000, and you have a real convoluted explanation for how you arrived at that number when they have a totally different number in mind. I don't think Common Core is going to help you.
You don't think? Look, all you got to do is say, look, I'm part of the public school system. President Obama said all I got to do is tell you how I got here, and you're supposed to let me go. And they'll be like, oh, okay, Common Core. I got it. I think Common Core is like it's going to be the new progressive password.
I mean, we understand that our federal government has been operating on Common Core math for all of our lifetimes. We understand this.
Well,
we just don't think it ought to be taught like that in the public schools.
But there's a whole, it's not just this little. This was something funny, all right? This was like some of the more, this was something we could actually put our fingers on. But if you will do some research and look into the Common Core curriculum and see some of the things that's being taught, because it's not just mathematics, man. There's a whole lot more in the public school than mathematics.
And they're doing away with civics.
Well, they don't need to breed any more extremists in the public school systems, man. If kids start studying things like civics, there's no telling. Man, they'll start thinking that politicians should stand on principles.
The thing is, at some point, it's going to have to hit these Democrats and these liberals and these teachers you would think it would soon hit them that the kids that they teach this crap to are going to be the ones who will be taking care of them in the nursing home.
Well, no, not according to Obamacare. According to Obamacare,
right.
they ain't going to have to worry about going in the nursing home because once they get to a certain age, well, let's just cart them off to die anyhow. You know, they'll ease them out because that's what they want, right? Oh, wait, no, I take that back. A lot of these people won't have to worry about it because they probably got an exemption from Obamacare, so you're right. They will get to go to nursing homes.
Yeah.
Well, look, before we get out of here, I got another little, we promised if everybody was good, then we would play this little clip that we got from Papa Ted Cruz. He's been in the news a lot this weekend. He's going ahead.
He took a recess.
Well, he is getting out ahead of everybody on this whole citizenship thing because he is a natural-born citizen. His mother was a citizen of the United States. He was born in Canada. He does have dual citizenship. He is planning on renouncing his Canadian citizenship. I don't know why he's waiting to do it now, but unless he just figured it out, I don't know. But he did jump out ahead of the gate on this one because he could see it coming. And CNN, we already played their little clip about, is he really a citizen? Is he eligible? Well, yes, he is. Not only that, but, you know, he's leading this campaign to defund Obamacare. And he believes, Ted Cruz believes, and I believe he's right, that they really stand, I mean, they've got a chance now to defund this thing before it starts flying off the rails even more than it already is. Now, the chief complaint against that is that, it's going to shut down the government. He's willing to shut down the government if we don't go along with defunding Obamacare, and it's going to be all the Republicans' fault because there's a lot of programs are funded through Obamacare, which is by design. And if they defund Obamacare as a whole, then a lot of these programs are not going to have any money. Papa Ted's got an answer for that. And see, this is...
Of course he does.
Well, over the weekend...
He always has his facts.
Over the weekend, I heard Rand Paul. Rand Paul said that, that Senator Cruz's heart is in the right place, but shutting down the government is not the way to go. And he's the one that brought up all of these programs, that's funded with Obamacare, and how it would just be a huge mistake if they defund Obamacare altogether because, gosh, all these people aren't going to have any money. So Ted's responding. Here he goes.
Big debate inside the party. But basically Cruz and Rubio, Lee, they believe that, look, we got one chance here to do this. I got to try to do it now. Even if you don't succeed, it shows the people that you all will stand for something. You disagree with their approach. Why?
I'm not in favor of creating an expectation in terms of defunding Obamacare and the continuing resolution that can't be met. Even if you shut down the federal government, you would still see Obamacare get funds to keep it alive.
Isn't that true, Senator Cruz? Even if you defund it, even the Congressional Research Service report said billions of federal dollars are appropriated by the act itself, and it can only be stopped by repealing Obamacare in toto.
Actually, Raymond, that's not correct. What we have been arguing for a long time, and listen, a lot of Republicans in Washington are convinced we can't win this fight, and we've got to change that perception in order to stop Obamacare. Obamacare is at its most vulnerable it's ever been right now. There's bipartisan agreement. It's not working. The wheels are coming off. The unions are jumping ship. But the approach that I think makes sense is straightforward. On September 30th, the continuing resolution that funds the federal government expires. In my view, the House of Representatives should pass a continuing resolution that funds the entirety of the federal government, every bit of the federal government, except for Obamacare. And that continuing resolution should explicitly prohibit spending any money, discretionary or mandatory, on Obamacare. Now, after the House passes that, that'll go over to the Senate, and we know what will happen next. We've seen this play before. Harry Reid and Barack Obama will scream and yell. The mean, nasty Republicans are threatening to shut down the government. But What we have to do then is something we haven't done before, which is actually stand up and win the argument. Say, no, we want to fund the government. We voted to fund the government. We don't want to shut down the government. Why is Barack Obama threatening to shut down the government in order to force Obamacare on the American people? President Obama just granted waivers to every big corporation in the United States. Why is President Obama threatening to shut down the government in order to deny those very same waivers to hardworking American families? And I think that's an argument we can win, but the only way we win the argument is if we stand up and make it. And right now, the battle is whether our Republican leaders will stand together. We need one of two things. We either need 41 Republicans in the Senate to stand together, or we need 218 Republicans in the House to stand together. If we get that to happen, this is a fight we can win, and I believe it's our best and quite possibly our last real opportunity to stop Obamacare before it does permanent damage to our economy.
Thank you, Ted. Yeah. You don't have to shut down the government. You heard the man. Part of the resolution is to continue funding the federal government in its entirety, but to defund Obamacare but before it does any permanent damage. The only thing that I think should be added is that they're going to have to replace Obamacare with something. Not necessarily, more socialized medicine. But that great big old stack of suggestions that the Republicans gave to Obama?
Do you mean the ones that he just rejected out of hand without
even looking at any of them?
Those, yeah. Okay.
Had some neat things in there like tort reforms and stuff like that.
And making it so you could buy insurance across state lines instead of being stuck to just the market inside your own state, that kind of thing.
Yeah, things that would keep your premiums from going up, or things that would ensure that you get to continue using the free market system to choose your doctor instead of, Obama choosing your doctor for you. It's really this whole getting rid of Obamacare thing. It's a lot simpler than the mainstream press would have you believe. It's a lot simpler than the establishment Republicans would have you believe. And one good thing about this little debate that's coming up, when the House and everybody goes back to work, when this bill comes out and we see who votes against Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, that'll be a good thing that they do. Because then we'll know exactly who needs to go in 2014.
Exactly. I mean, it'll tell you exactly
who's
who's actually going to stand on principle and who's just going to go along to get along.
Politico had an article today that was about the infighting in the Republican Party. Is the infighting in the Republican Party going to prove to be its undoing in 2014? No. As a matter of fact, as a result of all this infighting, the Republican Party in 2014 is going to be even stronger because a lot of these weak links are going to be voted out. Not voted out to give the office to Democrats, but they will lose in their primaries, the ones that actually get to have primaries.
I think the majority of the voters now are so ticked. They're ready. What we're looking for. I mean, this is what you and I want, and it's what Tina wants. It's what I think it's what Richard out there in the chat wants. We want to be voting for people who are going to listen to us instead of those beltway consultants and strategists and lawyers.
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Constituencies.
That's
not
why
consultants.
That's why people like Ted Cruz and Trey Gowdy are gaining in popularity so much, because they are listening to their constituents, even if it means going against their own parties. Man, that's what being a public servant is all about. serving the public, not the parties. Well, dude, we